Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. And do, please, leave me some comments down below. Ask me questions. Insult me. Larry doesn't need any encouragement for that. That's the goat man, by the way, who lives near Rotherham. Yeah, in Yorkshire, I believe. I've heard of that place. It's near Lancashire. Now I know Lancashire, great place. That's where I live, you see. Anyway, I'm going to talk today about A Clockwork Orange in reality, because Stanley Kubrick actually based his film on actual experiments that were taking place in British prisons. If you've ever seen A Clockwork Orange, I'll put a link down below to facts about A Clockwork Orange so you can have a look for yourself. I highly recommend that you watch it. I tried to show it to my grandson when he was about 18 and he refused to watch it. We got about 15-20 minutes into the film shortly after they'd beaten that tramp to death. And he said, I just can't watch this. It's making me feel ill. I saw it at the cinema when it was first released in 1972, maybe 73, somewhere around about that. And I thought it was a masterpiece. My wife absolutely hated it. She don't go to the cinema with me anymore. Refuses. I'm not going watching them films. Anyway, A Clockwork Orange, as I say, it's based on experiments that were taking place in HM prisons. And I worked at Wormwood Scrubs, and it was 1975. And I'd only just joined the prison service, and I was put into experience the work in the prison hospital. And whilst I was there, they said, would you like to see something totally unexpected? I said, yes, let's have a look, you know. So they took me into this what was a secluded room, and in it was like a dentist's chair and a television in front of it. And the doctor who was running it said, you know what this is? We're doing experiments on sex offenders to try and remove their desire to commit such offences in society. He said, and this is a program that we've been following for a number of years now. He said, would you like to try it? I thought, well, as long as it doesn't involve me being injected or anything, yeah, I'll give it a go. He said, right, we'll sit down in the chair. So they fitted electrodes to my head, tested them, asked me certain questions, and it was some machine that read my answers. I said, okay, well, we'll go for it now. They turned all the lights off, put the television on, and I was sat in this chair. I wasn't strapped into the chair, but I was sat in the chair, and they proceeded to show me the most horrendous scenes on the television screen, and these were my brain interactions were being recorded, and it showed things like people being burnt alive, children being flogged, scenes of people being beheaded, people being sexually molested. It was an absolute nightmare. So I watched this for about 5 minutes or so, and they said, right, okay, that's enough of that. Turned it off, took the electrodes off me, and then they started to diagnose what they'd found. And this doctor, who he looked like a cross between Vincent Price and Peter Cushing, you know, a real weird character who spoke in one of these, we think this may pertain, and all that nonsense. And he said to me, you do realise, Mr. Sutton, that you could be a homosexual. I thought, I am getting out of there. Seriously. A Clockwork Orange. Yeah, that's where it was. I thought, I'm getting out of here before he tries to put that to the test. Yeah, oh hell. So they were doing all that stuff. Anyway, have a look at the link to the documentary I've put down below about A Clockwork Orange. There's more than that. Many experiments were taking place in Great Britain at a place called Porton Down, which is, I think it's in Wiltshire. It's not far off Lark Hill Camp. And believe this or not, when I was in the military in 1968, it would probably be around about November 1968, and a group of senior officers from the army came into the barracks and they asked us, well, do you mind if we have a chat to you, I think there was a colonel, a couple of majors, and I said, well, yeah, we didn't mind, we were just squaddies, I was 19 years old. And they said, we're looking for people to take part in some testing that we're doing in England, in Porton Down. He said, we're trying to, this is the story they told us, that they were attempting to find a cure for the common cold. That's what they said. Yeah. Said, you'll be at Porton Down in England for 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks of testing, we will then give you 2 weeks leave, and you come back to your regiment. So they asked for volunteers. They asked me, I said, I don't think so, actually. Having a kind of realisation that there is no cure for the common cold, because it's a virus that mutates. Every year the virus is different. They're not going to find a cure for that. I kind of knew that. My colleagues didn't, and one of them, his name, we called him Brummy Scott. Yeah, he's written a book about it, actually. He went to Porton Down, and he was never the same when he came back. He said what it amounted to was he was injected with various psychotropic drugs, things like LSD and all that, and he was hallucinating. And he said they wired him up, and just pretty much like I've described in The Clockwork Orange, and went through all that stuff with him, showing him films and measuring his brain waves. And he was never the same after that. He said it ruined. He kept getting flashbacks. And there was definitely something strange about him when he came back. Shortly after he did return, and he was in the same barrack room as me. It would be round about 2 o'clock in the morning, I suppose, and I was sleeping opposite this guy in a just a standard iron bed, because 4 or 5 in the room. That's just the way it was then. You wouldn't get away with that today, would you? You wouldn't allow asylum seekers to go in a shared room about 15 foot by 10 foot. 4 or 5 of them in there in bunk beds. No, wouldn't allow it. Yeah, against their human rights, of course. But back then in the army, that's what they did. So he was asleep in the bed opposite me, and it would be about 2 or 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, early in the morning, and I heard these footsteps walking across the room. And I immediately sat up in bed and I thought there was a Welsh guy there, a great big Welsh guy. And he used to get drunk, so, lots of the soldiers used to get drunk. But he used to get drunk and piss in the corner. I thought, oh no, not again. So I sat up, and standing at the foot of my bed was an enormous creature. Now, I don't know what it was. I took one look at it and jumped back under the bedclothes. It was horrendous. It was absolutely enormous, with fiery red eyes. And directly opposite me in the bed, I could see Brummy Scott. And he was looking at this thing as well. Now, whatever it was, I do not know. But it was a tremendously great big thing, twice the size of a man, right up virtually to the ceiling, and the ceilings were about 10 foot. It was just enormous. Scared me, really scared me, I'm telling you. Years later, we're talking about 40 years later, I got a telephone call from Brummy Scott, who was writing his book at the time, and he asked me if I remembered that night, and of course I did remember it. He said, I can't get it out of my mind. He said, but I wondered if it was a flashback to the treatment I'd been receiving at Porton Down. Well, it wasn't. I'd seen it and I hadn't been anywhere near Porton Down, and nor I'd taken any drugs, certainly not LSD or anything at all remotely like that. So there you have it. That's what they were doing in the prisons in the 1970s. I don't think they're doing it now, because one of the side effects of all these drugs that they were giving to the sex offenders, mainly from D-Wing, people who were serving life for mutilating children and all kind of horrific things that they'd been doing. They started, because as a side effect of the drugs, they started to develop female-style breasts. It was, God knows what they were injecting them with. So have a look at the link to the documentary about A Clockwork Orange, and just think, if they will be doing that to prisoners, who else are they doing it to? And now a time for a poem. This is Hazel, I believe, from Shropshire. Hello there. Yeah, this is a poem for you. This is from A.E. Houseman, from his poems, collection of poems, A Shropshire Lad, because Hazel lives in Shropshire. And this is In Valleys of Springs and Rivers by A.E. Houseman. Clunton and Clunbury, Clungenford and Clun are the quietest places under the sun. In valleys of springs and rivers, by Oney and Team and Clun, the country for easy livers, the quietest under the sun. We still had sorrows to lighten, one could not always be glad, and lads knew trouble at nightin', when I was a nightin' lad. By bridges the Thames run under, in London the town built ill, 'tis sure small matter for wonder, if sorrow is with one still. And if as a lad grows older, the troubles he bears are more, he carries his griefs on a shoulder that handselled them long before. Where shall one halt to deliver this luggage I'd lief set down? Not Thames, not Teme is the river, nor London, nor Knighton town. 'Tis a long way further than Knighton, a quieter place than Clun, where doomsday may thunder and lighten, and little 'twill matter to one. A. Houseman. He was obviously talking about the grave there. Sincerely hope you enjoyed that, Hazel. And here, now I'm going to do a song. I'll dedicate this to Bob the Bob and Scott and Larry the Goatman, all who send me messages saying, please don't. But I am. And here it is, originally by Elvis, Don't. Don't, that's what you say. Each time that I hold you this way, when I feel like this and I want to kiss you, baby, don't say don't, 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 don't leave my embrace, for here in my arms is your place. When the night grows cold and I want to hold you, baby, don't say don't, don't, don't. If you think that this is just a game I'm playing, if you think that I don't mean every word I'm saying, don't feel that way. I'm your love, and yours I will stay. This you can believe. I will never leave you. Heaven knows I won't. Don't, baby, don't say don't. They are Don't, originally by Elvis Presley, and I thought you might like to have a look at Batman. There he is, Batman at the back. See my Batman, 7 foot tall, from America. That I used to have a John Wayne. I swapped John Wayne for Batman, and I had to pay some money as well. It wasn't cheap, that, believe me. Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe and listen. If you've got this far and you've got a story to tell about time in prison or anything related to prison, if you've been in, if you were an officer, anything like that, and you'd like to tell me, I'm writing volume 5 of my book, which is going to include details of other people's experiences in HM prisons. So please do contact me. Just tell me you want to speak to me, and maybe add your email address and I will contact you. Tales from the Jails.